Ahoy! Path of Exile 2 is getting some very good changes that were much requested by the community today, and some very nice quality of life features in mostly an update called update 0.10c, but then some changes will also come later because they couldn't be rolled out without an actual patch, whereas others could just be done on the server side. One of the changes that will be coming are dodge roll changes. At the moment it is very easy to get trapped between monsters, and that is somewhat intended, but not quite as dramatic as it is right now. So what is going to change is a player size will now be set to 0 units while dodge rolling instead of 1 unit, which means you can kind of squeeze between monsters easier, but it doesn't mean you can just roll through all of them. But along with that, some smaller monsters can now be pushed away while dodge rolling. This includes monsters such as the Dawned Beetles and Keth. So in some ways you will be able to squeeze past some enemies easier, and then some you can also just sort of push away. But of course, since you can't always get out if you get completely trapped, you want to have some skills that help you zone away enemies as well. There will be some checkpoint changes. They're also not in the game yet. Clicking on a checkpoint will allow you to teleport to other checkpoints in the area that are explored on your minimap, and checkpoints have been added to all entrances and exits of zones to allow for teleportation back on that same map. A checkpoint has been added to the midpoint of the first Dreadnought area as well. Now, what I'm not entirely sure about here, because it isn't really specified, is if you have discovered the checkpoints on a map and you leave that map and reset it, and you re-enter the map, if you will be able to still use any checkpoints you have previously discovered already. If yes, that would likely mean that you can farm bosses much easier if they're somewhere on the map far away from the entrance, but I'm not sure if that's actually going to be the case. I'll have to test that once it's actually in the game. While many people are happy with the challenge the game currently provides, some are not happy with the rewards you get in return for that challenge, so there will be some adjustments giving us some better chances to find rarer loot. For rare monsters specifically, the rarity bonus per rare mod has been doubled. There is a 10% extra quantity bonus per rare mod, and an increased chance of rare monsters inherently having more modifiers as you progress through the endgame, so overall you should have a pretty good chance to get better gear or rares from rare monsters. But that's not all, there is an additional change that plays into rarity of items as well. There are a variety of changes to the currencies. Regal Orb drop rates have been increased around 40%. Disenchanting 6 mod rares gives you 2 Regal Shards instead of 1. Lesser Jura's Orbs drop rates have been increased by around 33%. They reduced the drop rate of Chaos Orbs slightly as they're less valued, and in return they are not taking up as much of the rare currency drop pool, so this is beneficial to get other rarer items, like for example Exalted Orbs. Gemcutter's Prism drop rates have been increased by 500%, and Gemcutter's Prisms now increase the quality of gems by 5% instead of 1%. All map mods, all map prefix mods have been changed, but they give us some examples here. For example, the rarity mods have been increased by 2.5 times. The quality mods have had extra rarity added to them. That will be now in a later patch. And they removed the bottom tier of some mods. You're much more likely to roll modifiers that affect drops or pack size rather than the less useful mods. There's also unlucky drop protection, especially for bosses. No more than 50% of an unique monster's drops can be gold, and act bosses and map bosses will always drop at least 1 rare, so this is going to be much more satisfying. If you're using click to move, the move only command was name locking, which would kind of cause the character to walk weirdly towards the name locked targets, so taking that away now. There will be more rare monsters in late game maps, and they are also easier to find now, because rare monsters now appear on the minimap when there are 200 monsters remaining instead of 50. In addition to that, many maps have additional rare monsters added to them to make sure that there's a minimum number of them in every map type. And as you can see, this is the current patch that has already been rolled out that didn't need a restart. So a lot of these changes here are actually in there already, especially when it comes to the rarity of items and so on. And then the rest will follow in the next days probably. Very promising start, addressing a lot of the biggest issues and complaints and concerns with the game so far. So for an early access, this is a very good step in the right direction, and I hope they just continue on the path that they're currently on. If you're interested in more videos like this, then consider subscribing and clicking the bell. This channel is exclusively for Path of Exile 2, so you'll get plenty of info here of all different kinds. I have a little build guide, a boss guide, and so on soon, so you can look forward to that. And on that, thank you for watching. Yixloth. Out.